first started all this, like, oh, I'm going to change the world. I'm going to...
You're listening to the Johny Pach Show, where I connect you to the most influential, masterful minds of this generation. We're gaining insight into their lives, their achievements, and the stories along the way. Stick around if you too are determined to succeed. Okay, guys, my next guest, musician, best-selling author, and speaker. This guy got onto the scene at the age of 17 under the mentorship of Russell Brand. Wow. And his best-selling book, Our Story Called Life. He also has a band called Current Affairs. He's toured in the UK. He's gained a large following. Even travelled across the pond and breaking into the American circuit with notable performances at Madison Square Gardens and Glastonbury. This guy's most consistent work, he comes under as a presenter where, after having delivered a TED Talk in 2018, has spent the last year speaking to over 20,000 students in UK schools, as well as corporate events and festivals. Please give it up for my guest, Peter Abrams. Woo! Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm listening thinking intro. This guy sounds great.
Can you feel that energy?
And then you think, oh God,
yeah.
That's your intro. Shit.
This guy sounds magical. Right, guys, for the listeners back home, myself and Peter, we've been friends for a really long time. I haven't seen you personally in the flesh for a while, mate. Probably about half a year, I think.
Yeah, probably around then.
You came to the WeWork office. I think you just got back off tour.
Yeah, we had. And then I came and saw you at your big fancy adult office where you do adult things.
Yeah, all those adult things. And I can't act like a kid anymore. And we we obviously go way back when we were in Thailand doing our great yoga meditation retreat. That was a lot of good fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, we stuck to the strict vegan diet religiously, didn't we?
We literally stuck to the diet, and I actually posted on my Snapchat at the time, I am vegan, clearly with like eggs and milk and stuff.
You had an egg salad.
Oh, I was trying to be a veganite. It just was not working. And then probably one of my best memories with yourself is when we thought we'd hit the town of Koh Samui, see what was going on, and we were in that funny ping pong show. Oh mate, wasn't that nuts?
I think that was the moment I became a man.
I've nearly spat my water out everywhere. Oh my God, literally.
For everyone listening, when we was in Thailand, I was only about 18. Johnny decided to take me on a night out in the local strip of all the bars and stuff. And oh my God.
Oh mate, what good times. That was good.
I'm not sure. For both our careers, I'm not sure we should state what truly happened. All that detail.
Oh, good memories, man. We were horrified. We literally looked at each other. We were like, yeah, time to get home. We need
to go and meditate a bit more.
We got meditation at 6:30 by the sea. Yeah, let's do one. We weren't actually allowed to drink on that little retreat, so I'm not sure what happened there. A few beers in.
It's called being spiritually balanced, I think.
Yeah, that's it. Spiritually balanced, absolutely. Right, so look, let's get into it. The title of this show, How to Maintain Spirituality in an Idealistic, Egotistical World. We're really going to tap into that. First of all, though, tell me about your relationship with Russell Brand. I listen to Under the Skin podcast every single morning. I love it, mate.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's a really cool podcast. He's an amazing, mind and speaker. So it wasn't, he gets some great guests on as well, man.
Oh, amazing. He had Ricky Gervais on the other day.
Oh, Ricky Gervais is like a local, not local, but, a hero of mine, an idol of mine. I think he's a genius. But, my relationship with him was way back when I was starting to, at the time, it wasn't even starting to write the book. I was just sort of going through life, not really sure what I wanted to do with myself.
Yeah.
Trying to, deal with my mind and the crazy thoughts within it. And to cut a long story short, I basically ended up volunteering at a charity cafe, teaching them football.
Yes.
And stuff like that. And it came to their year anniversary and they invited me along, and I thought, oh yeah, I'll come and support, and went there, and it turns out it was Russell that owned the cafe. At the time he was told, take down the government stage, and was working with the people to get people in recovery back into work. And anyway, so we were there, and I think he was surprised I was this young guy who was teaching all these workers the football on the weekdays. And he basically sat down with me, started having a chat, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Sort of went home and said, oh, Mum, Russell Brand was there and he's going to help me publish a book. And at the time, my mum thought I'd joined a cult or something, because I didn't really know who he was. I was too young to sort of see him at his A-list. So this was all after that, once he was clean and whatnot. And yeah, the guy, I say it all the time, because obviously the name sort of has attached, his name's sort of part of my story and career now. Yeah. And I always say I can't thank him enough for what he did. He basically helped me start on the path that I'm now on till today.
Yeah, amazing, mate. Well, as you know, I know his dad very well. They're kind of similar. I met Russell one time. We were at some bar. I mean, Ron called me up. He's like, look, if you're in Camden, come and have a drink. We sat there and he's like, just spoken to Russell. He's going to pop in. He's on the way to a theatre play with this new woman. I was like, yeah, right, whatever, Ron. You always say he's going to pop in. He literally did pop in to see his dad and gave him a hug. And I just kind of high-fived him. And then Russell said to me, he was like, oh, you're the Johny Pach. Your dad loves you more than he loves me. Well, nice to meet you, fella. And I was just like, yeah. But no, mate, he's an amazing person. And obviously when he's presenting the shows again on stand-up, I'd love to come with you and be a guest and come with you on that.
Yeah, mate. Well, that was one of the first things I was given the opportunity to do, was I was able to, it ended up turning into music. But at the start, it was stand-up comedy. And he did a tour last year called the Rebirth Tour. And right early on in the workings out stage of that, I was able to do some gigs alongside those. And it was just awesome, man. Just seeing, any professional who is really at the top of the industry do their stuff up close is, especially for a young guy, it is this mentorship, isn't it? And it really amazing. Sets the standard of what you hold yourself to from there on out.
What would you say is the biggest thing that you've ever learnt from Russell?
The first thing he probably ever said to me, really, someone's asked me that before and I didn't know at the time, but afterwards I was like, damn, I should have said that. I walked in and we were sort of chatting a little bit, and I was a bit confused at the time about my own head. And I was like, what do you think about, how would you sum up spirituality and all this sort of thing? And he said to me, he went, well, it's really simple, mate. The fact is, if you walk into a room and I'm sat there with my arms crossed, not really looking at you, we're never going to have a conversation. But if I sit in, open up and look at you and go, you're right, mate, and we just start chatting, then possibilities and a connection's formed. And that's basically your whole life. It's just, how are you holding yourself in the world, and are you open to the possibilities and opportunities which are around you? Excellent. And that stuck with me, the whole way through till today, because it's very true at the basis of it.
And look, for the listeners back home, I've known you a while, Pete, and you've literally got the mind of a 70-year-old.
I think that's a positive thing.
Oh, absolutely. You are so, how do they say, wise beyond your years? Right, that's absolutely you. But for the listeners back home, who is Peter Abrams and what is your mission in life?
This is a really good question, man. I'm a 21-year-old kid from just outside of London who was so mental as a child. I used to literally bang my head against the wall to try and stop thinking because I couldn't deal with the thoughts inside my own head. And then through a mixture of travel and education, sort of worked out that, everybody's a little bit mental as well. And so now, I suppose, have come full circle, and through different creative lenses, whether it be music or writing a book or doing my talks, just try and connect with people, because it's a crazy life and it's a crazy world. And a lot of the time we just need people to sort of brand out and be like, you're right, mate. And so what's my purpose in life? I used to, when I first started all this, I'm going to change the world. I'm going to, cause a revolution. And that would be great if it happens. But as I've kind of, like I say, gotten older at the old age of 21, I've started to try and just say, look, I'm just going to try and be the best person I can when I can be. Forgive myself on the days I wake up feeling like, oh, I can't be arsed today. Try and create and hopefully try and connect and help some people while doing that.
Absolutely.
But there's no pressure, man. We, everyone, all of us entrepreneurs, all of us business people, we want to be the best and we want to change the world. And my attitude's changing a little bit recently I'd love that, but if not as well, I'll just try and be content and help out if I can a little bit.
I absolutely love that, Pete. And tell me, when you brought out your first book, I want to delve into this. Our Story Called Life. Do you touch on many of those elements within the book? What's the book all about? What's the crux of it?
Yeah, so the whole crux of Our Story Called Life, Our Story Called Life it sounds a bit like this sort of pretentious title, but it's basically saying it there. It's that our life is a story inside of our heads, not in some, airy, fairy, lovely, like if you truly believe way, more in like, hey, listen, we've got a perceptive, we've got this narrative that we're talking to ourselves.
Yes.
Kids talk to themselves every 15 to 20 seconds, adults every 25 to 30. That consciousness, that inner voice that you're telling yourself, not the me and you that show up and do the interview and, you're Johnny and I'm Peter. Like for you that wakes up at 3 a.m. and you go, oh God, I hope people listen to my music. I hope people buy my book.
Yeah.
That real you, that you is telling yourself a story all the time. And so you are talking to yourself, telling yourself this story. And the way I came to it was, like I say, when I was a kid, knowing that this story was there, but not knowing how to change it. And then through meeting loads of people, from monks to porn stars to professors to, celebrities, talking to all of them and kind of understanding that we're all doing the same thing. We're all telling ourselves this story. So to answer your question, the crux of the book is basically all these different people's opinions on what that story is. And then it all comes full circle towards the end and basically says, hey, we're all telling ourselves a story of some kind. How can we change it if it's not serving us? And that's basically what it's about. Absolutely
love that. And can you tell the listeners, obviously, where they can find the book if they want to purchase it right now?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's everywhere, all of the typical ones. Amazon, your local bookshop, hopefully.
Your website?
Yeah, on the website. There's a publishers called Lulu who are in America, and they got it on there as well. And someone's selling it on eBay for $5, which was a bit of a low blow. Someone sent me the link through the other day. And look what I found. Someone's used Our Story Called Life for $5, and I thought, why does that boost my ego a little bit to know someone's selling my book on eBay? But you've made it.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
Hey, listen, your family and friends can buy your shit all day, but it's when someone buys it and goes, this is shit, and starts flogging it, you think, they're making money off me now.
We're getting to the whole egotistical world side of things. I wanted to say to you, I wanted to kind of touch on that. Yes, you're absolutely right. It is all absolutely in the mind. And I wanted to ask you, is the only way of controlling the mind and the thoughts within our mind through meditative practice?
Yes, 100%. Of course. I mean, it's like, I don't think meditation needs Peter Abrams from London to verify it. It's like a 4,000-year-old practice. It clearly works for humans in some capacity. All of these things, though, to me, I say through the story inside of our head, someone else will tell you through law of attraction. They're all kind of saying the same sort of things. And generally, this is very, very basic. We could go much deeper if you want, but basically saying, and this anyway, it's basically saying, this is what it is. Can you accept that? And if you can accept it, can you accept that you can change it? Right. And that's a really powerful attitude to have, because that's basically all we ever do, whether we know it or not. You're only ever in control of what you're in control of, is what I like to say. And so basically meditation's a great one way of sort of centering yourself, becoming present and leading yourself to the question of, do you accept reality and are you willing to change it? Meditation 100% works for that.
Do you know what? I'm a true advocate of change. I love changing anything, my situation, my circumstances, my environment. I love it. It gives me such a buzz and a rush of new beginnings.
I think that's why you've been successful, though, Johnny, because you're willing to do that, and whether we like it or not, that change is always happening.
Yes.
Someone said to me when when the COVID outbreak happened, I'm really worried now because the decisions I make over these next few weeks are going to change my whole life. And I said, do you want to know the truth? Those decisions were always going to change your whole life. You're just now thinking about it a bit more because everybody else is.
And you're probably increasing the law of attraction with worry, lack of finances, anxiety, and that change can actually create into something that you're not going to want.
Yeah, well, this is it. She was basically saying that, I'm really worried that these changes are going to happen. And I was like, these changes were going to happen anyway. It's just now you're thinking about it. Change is always happening. There's a website where you can look at the amount of people being born and the amount of people dying live. And it's not a still number. It's like constantly changing up and down. And it's just nuts. And you think it's only because we're us in our little heads, like, I'm me, I'm going through my day today, I'm doing all right, or I'm not feeling too good today, that we forget that the whole picture is this big, rapid moving thing. It's not stationary.
Do you think, let's say people in London, for example, they're stuck in the rat race? I hate all that rat race stuff. Oh, the rat race. Oh, download my video and get out of the rat race.
Yeah,
it drives me mad. But I was going to say, do you think because everybody gets stuck in their day-to-day and a rat race, inverted commas, do you think there isn't enough change in the world from humanity?
I think there's always going to be change from humanity. It's just we call it change depending on whether it affects us or not. If someone dreams of a world where everybody's plugged into some online system like your Mark Zuckerberg's, if we get there, then that's a great change. Whereas to the far left hippies of Glastonbury are going to be like, "God, this is the end of the world." Neither's right or wrong. It's just your own opinion reflecting on the event that's happening. But to take it back to what you just said, I'm massively with you, because one thing I've noticed in the wellbeing industry is there's this massive, red cross against a certain way of life. And you're right. The whole rat race thing is like a real example of that. And I disagree wholeheartedly, man. I've been in London and had some of the most spiritually freeing experiences, or been most present in my whole life.
Yes.
I don't want spirituality to have to be something that you can only do meditating on a beach somewhere. I want it to be a way of life and a way of being that takes the pressure off and says, instead of holding yourself to these ridiculous standards of being the perfect human being, forgive yourself, try and forgive others a bit more. And wherever you are in the world, whatever you're doing, if it's what you want to do, continue to do so to the best that you can. And if not, try and change that. It don't have to be this picture perfect on the poster, I'm doing a handstand on 2 fingers.
That'd be pretty impressive if you do that.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't even know. Well, it's probably possible. There's Yogi listening to this going, well, I can do that. What do you mean?
There's all these videos going around of people doing their press-ups in their garden. You're going to set a trend with this 2-finger handstand thing, finger stand.
It will make me viral and I'll become a guru and I'll be like, it's not the point. And they'll be like, it doesn't matter. You're making money. Shut up. Go with it. And I'll come back on and be like, all that I said before is rubbish, man. Money's great. Now I'm driving my Ferrari, mate. I was a naive kid. This is all real now. Success and money and shitting on everyone else.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Do you know what, mate? Well, I actually had a really good flashback then of being you doing a full-on handstand at the Vakasa retreat in Thailand. Do you remember that? We actually did that.
Yeah, mate. Oh, listen, I say that. Trying to do a handstand is one of the most freeing experiences ever. You do it and you're like, cool, I'm a real man now. Now I'm able to do that. Look at me.
Yeah. Mate, I couldn't believe the strength. I was kind of... I think I was up in the air balancing for about 4 to 5 seconds. But do you know what? It's so weird to do a handstand because you are literally freaking out that you lean forward so much and you could break your neck. What is that about our minds just telling us, no, you can't do it? Why is that?
it's that unknown experience, isn't it? Of like, or I'm normally this way up, and now I'm the opposite way up. So now I'm panicking. Oh God, I don't like this. I like comfort and what I know. But what I say about, the picture perfect hands and stuff, that's fine, man. Yoga's a great thing. I don't really do a lot of it, but a lot of people doing it works for them. Meditation's a really cool thing I do actually do. And a lot of other people do that as well. My actual point I'm making is, just to be clear, there's loads of different ways of centering yourself and being present. And none of them should be held in higher regard than the others.
Oh, got you. No, you're so right. It brings us on nicely to the subject of this whole podcast. So, how to maintain spirituality in an idealistic, egotistical world. So, firstly, I know you're going to go to town on this. What is the ego?
What is the ego? Well, it's the age-old question. I'm not sure anybody actually knows. I think it's something obviously within all of us, which is partly how we identify as ourselves. It's not necessarily a bad thing, and it's not necessarily absolutely, fault-proof. I think it can bring its own issues if it gets out of our control, like most things.
Hi guys, Johny Pach here. I hope you are all loving the show right now. Just to jump in, if you are a business owner, an entrepreneur, and you're struggling to generate business and you're looking for the right marketing solution for you during these uncertain times, then my company, Next Generation, has the solution. I have just created a COVID-19 marketing action plan that you can download directly from my website, all the W's.wearenxtgeneration.com. And if you're just looking for the right marketing solution, feel free to email me, Johny, Johny, at wearenxtgeneration.com. Now back to the show. Yes. But why does it control us so much? And why do we need to feed it as much as we can with just everything around us? Objects, food, fashion, holidays, social media likes. What is it about the ego? It drives us crazy.
That's a really great question. Some would argue it's, a natural part of our human biology, which I think it is. But I think most of us live in an environment and a world which is so overly saturated with all those things you just listed that it keeps us on this sort of surface level, like just constantly feed it shit. And that can be taken into whether we're eating shit or watching shit.
Right.
Whatever we're doing, we're constantly fed our surface level selves, and our egos constantly fed all this crap that don't really serve much purpose. But it's like cheap, like fast food. It tastes so great, and you get 200 likes or whatever, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm popular now, man. And it starts ticking off all this bullshit that we don't actually need.
Yes.
When this lockdown first started, I didn't go on my phone for a week, and it was like,
great.
Once and I hadn't done that for ages, and it weren't some sort of, like, oh, look at me, I'm so special, I don't have to go on my phone, because I fucking do. Oh my God, I do. I need to post about my band. I need everyone to know about my stuff. I need you to buy my book. Like, I'm not saying any of this like my ego's removed. Listen, what you just listed off my bio, it was like 5 minutes long and about 12 different titles. I'm definitely someone who wants your attention. But my point is, on a good day, I can kind of go, yeah, but it's all a bit of a laugh, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when I go to bed. As long as my dog's all right and I'm okay and we're all right, as well as we can be, I'll let it go. And then I wake up the next day and I'm like, oh my God, I need to be famous. Quickly, make it happen. It's a constant thing. I don't believe any of these people who turn around and go, once you learn to control the ego, I'm like, oh, teach me, tell me how.
I've got to say, Pete, like, amazing work on the TED Talk. How was that?
Thanks, man.
How was that for you? And what did that do to the ego?
Do you know, mate, I've got the best story. I'm glad you asked. There was 2 moments in that, because the whole day I was on cloud 9. I was like, man, a TED Talk was something I dreamed of, not even dreamed of. Didn't even dream of it, because I thought, it's just not possible. Got offered it, got given the green light to do it how I wanted to do it, which was like improvised, made up.
Yes.
and, showed up on the day, did it. As I'm starting, I'm looking around the room, I'm nervous, the adrenaline's going, and I'm thinking, oh God, I've got to say the best thing I've ever said, because this is the best time to do it.
Yes.
Put so much pressure on myself, and then just looked over and saw some woman in the audience literally on her phone on Tinder. And I was like, relax, you idiot. No one gives a shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, so that was like, it bring me back down to earth.
Yep.
Calm myself down, smashed the talk, said everything. I didn't know what I was going to say at the time, but got all the points I wanted to get across. Finished it, really happy with myself, back on cloud 9. Hadn't eaten though, so I was a little bit hungry. So out I go, out of the building. Oh, I'm a TED speaker now. Yes, good job me. Walk into Subway, and she goes, oh, hi, welcome to Subway. Takes my order and goes, oh, so what you been up to today then? And I looked and I was like, oh, just had a TED talk. And she goes, oh, what's that? So I was just like, oh, there you go, you arsehole, that's what you get. Here you go, back in check, get on with it, choose your bread.
Wow, that's a real bring you down to earth type of scenario, isn't it? And you know what? It's so interesting that you said all of that, because for a split second there, you kind of forgot who you really were, the real person that you are. And I think that's what a lot of people do forget. So I've obviously worked in the entertainment industry for so long.
Yeah.
We're on the red carpet. We're interviewing these, inverted commas, celebrities again, who are all high and mighty and think they're the nuts at that time. And then you kind of interview them, and then for a fact they're going home and they're scratching around, and they're trying to kind of generate that work that they need to keep their profile all high and mighty. They completely lose themselves, these celebrities, in a world that's, well, actually it leads us onto it, an idealistic world. And then it kind of leads me on to the question of, is idealism destroying the world right now?
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? I'm sure everyone listening to your show knows what you've done. It's incredible stuff, man, and you'll know for sure it doesn't get easier. This is a thing, there's one side of it, this whole chasing your dream aspect of it. It's like the desperation in the chase. People will do anything to achieve it.
Yes.
And then you realize, once you start being successful and you get put into that world, the reality of it, which, one, is nothing what you anticipated it to be like.
Yes.
And two, again, never, it's like an endless chain of computer data. It's endless. There's never a point where, unless you've got yourself in check, you'll be happy, because you can reach 1 million followers on Instagram, but then you want 2, and then you want 5, and then you want 10, and then you're looking at, and you're always with it. When you're stuck in that world, 2 things happen. One, you start being given opportunity, and that's dangerous in itself, because I'm sure from where you've been in the stuff you've done.
Yes.
Once you start doing all right, the parties and the whole scene of that it's difficult to maintain some sort of control, because it's just mental.
Yeah.
And if you've been chasing it for a while, you never expect it to be as wild and as great in one aspect as it is. But then you wake up hungover with some randomer or whatever, and you're living this life where you're like, hold on a minute, I'm not actually happy.
That's
and
right.
You see it, take it back to Russell. Russell was the best example. He had everything celebrity status wise, everything, man.
Yeah.
More than most people will ever have.
Yes.
Put together. And he said it's like eating a cake made of ash. It looks beautiful and it just tastes of nothingness because it's pointless. And so my point I'm getting onto is, it's all fine. Like I say, be a millionaire, be a celebrity, do whatever you want to do, but don't have a deeper perspective. Have the ability to take a step back and look at it and say, hey, actually, I'll do all of this because it's what I want to do, and I want to create, and I want to help, and I want to do all this stuff and innovate and revolutionize. Fine, we can say as many big words as we want, but for me, it always goes back to the point of, there's got to be something more in your life as well as, because otherwise you just end up, like I say, it's an endless cycle. How much money is enough money? There's a great analogy people say of, imagine tomorrow you wake up and all the oceans in the world are no longer water, they're made of money, right? Don't think about the financial bankruptcy. Just think about it as a theoretical story. So all the oceans are now made of money. How long would you spend fishing out buckets of money before you actually go and spend it?
Yes. Do you know what?
And it's a really good thing to think about, because it's like, oh my God, look at all this money. If you could just get access to endless money, you'd be like, oh, I'll just sit here and fish some more of it and I can have endless money. And it's like, well, when are you going to do anything with it?
Do you know what I thought of as soon as we went into isolation? One of the first things that popped into my mind was, wow, imagine if I'm an influencer and I'm an influencer because I go to all of these amazing places and I'm promoting all of these different products. And now that I'm in isolation, it's all stripped from myself. The whole idealistic fake world that I was living has now been completely stripped out of my life. And I was just thinking to myself,
the truth.
Yeah, how are they going to handle it? That's right.
You know, it's all fake. Most, you know, I've met these people now that I've done enough events and stuff. You meet the social media huge influencers. It's all bullshit. Their cars are leased and their houses are rented.
Exactly.
It's all bullshit. Unless it isn't, at which point it's like, well, that's fine too. But for me, it's like, well, who gives a shit, man? And this is what I'm saying. I agree with you. If there's an influencer who does it and whatever and is fine with it, with the camera turned off, that's cool. But I don't think there's many influencers in the world who do what they do because they have a real deep spiritual balance and actually they don't need the attention from it. I think that's not really what gets you into that line of work. And it's funny, you know, we just finished recording a song today, which is going to come out in about a week's time. And there's a lyric in it which says, there's nothing sexy about your intellect unless you pose half dressed on the internet. And I think that's my best way of saying how I feel about that whole side of life.
I love that. Tony Robbins, obviously, massive fan. First thing he said at the Unleash the Power Within seminar was, take full responsibility for your life. And then...
well, there you go.
Exactly.
I just said that and it didn't cost you $4,000. Yeah. Sorry, actually.
I should have called you the week just before I was going. But then, yeah, you're absolutely right. On the flip side of that, our ego comes into play. We use and abuse social media accounts and outlets. Ultimately, we're driving more traffic, more negativity, and dislikes in some way to our minds. It's driving us crazy, and then from that, you know, we're just self-destructing ourselves, basically.
And it's a whole new experience of living, because you're kind of there, but obviously you're not physically there, but you're consciously there.
I know.
That's never, you know, humans have never had to experience that before.
No.
Joe Rogan, a great joke he says, where he goes, why are we letting NASA spend all this money, like, researching frogs and stuff that no one gives a fuck about, when there's a girl who's got like 7 million followers on Instagram and all she does is post pictures of her ass? So that's the kind of thing we need to be studying and come into some sort of understanding on, because that's real life, man. And it's only gonna Elon Musk says it's all about autonomy. You know, it doesn't matter. It's all about making things more autonomous. And so it doesn't matter if it's artificial intelligence or social media or whatever gets society more autonomous. All companies are trying to make things more autonomous, because then obviously profit goes up and there's less outgoings in certain areas.
Gotcha.
And so it's all to do with that. And yeah, it's only going to develop more. We're going to live online more, especially now. I mean, come on. Look at what's going on in the world. We're doing this over a phone call. People are going to listen to it on social media. So we can't sit here and say, oh, it's this awful thing, because we're using it.
Yeah,
and,
you're so right.
This is the massive head screw in all of it. It's like, yeah, but we all do it. That's the thing. And it's only going to get worse. Sure. You know, there's a video game where Travis Scott did an online concert and had more people watch his concert online in that game than he's ever had at his whole nationwide tour physically there.
Unbelievable.
It's mental stuff. And there's a lot of money to be made from that. And there's a lot of engagement as well.
For sure.
And our eyes are currency, basically, now. And so it's a whole new world. And the trick is, can you stay sane while you're in it, and can you try and understand it a bit? Is what I'd say to try and do to people.
Oh God, do you know what, buddy? It's crazy. How can we bring ourselves back to the source of who we really are? I tell you, COVID-19 isolation is massively helped everybody spiritually. You're spending more time with your family. You're in the present moment a lot more. You're fully aware of your consciousness and your environment and your appreciation with everybody around you, including your home. I feel so grateful to work and be at my home with my fiance and just really enjoying it. You know me, buddy. We're constantly traveling here, there, and everywhere. We're constantly going on holiday, but I've just really appreciated just being at home for a second and keeping fit, working out, meditating, and just being one with myself. So would you say that COVID-19, this whole isolation period, do you think it's helped everybody?
No, I definitely don't think it's helped everybody, because without sounding like a fucking repeating myself robot, like I say though, everything I say ends up being about the same thing, and it's just another event, isn't it? And yes, okay, it's impacted the whole globe, so it's more like in the light. We're all like, oh, this is like a big deal. But whether if it's been a positive or negative thing, it's been both. It depends on the person you ask, because again, it's how have you approached it.
For sure.
You know,
yeah.
I've had friends who are isolating by themselves. They haven't seen anybody for like 2 months, and they swear it's been like the best time of their life because they've been able to read and do all their shit. And then you've got people who are spending time with their family, but it's reaching out saying, man, what do? I can't cope. Because again, it's all different circumstances, it's all different stories that we're living out. And it's, again, how we're choosing to approach life. But what I'd say to people is it all comes down to what can you control. You can't control what the government laws are doing right now. So forget about it. And I know that's easier said than done, and I appreciate it's really difficult. But, you can't control it. So however stressed you're getting about it, it's never going to change. What you can focus on is what are you doing today? What are you doing tomorrow? What things could you be doing to maybe alleviate some of that stress? Again, taking responsibility about what you can control is usually what I end up advocating. But the fact that you're able to, that's really cool. I've been fortunate that because of where I am, I've got equipment to record music and stuff. And so that's what I've been choosing to do. I've been choosing to create. I've got enough content for like a year once this is all over. I can sit back and relax a bit.
Absolutely. Yeah. Aren't you so much more focused on your work and where you want to get to? And do you know what you mentioned there? You're so right about the government are obviously making those decisions for us. So our ego is crying out for a bit of control right now. And we've had that absolutely stripped from us. It's what an incredible thing. We're never going to get that opportunity again, as where we have literally got no control of our lives right now.
Well, and again, though, you could go even deeper than that and say, yeah, but it's only because we've got used to a certain level of control. Before all of this, there were certain things in the normal way of living that you couldn't do. There was certain control even then. It's just where your perception is. It's like we're used to a certain way of life. Now that's changed, we look back and go, oh my God, we had so much freedom back then, blah, blah, blah. Look at, I don't know, the best example. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but it's like it's all based on what your perception is.
Yes.
And so you're absolutely right. The control has been taken away compared to what we normally have. But there's people in the normal world who have even less control than what the average person's got now.
Yeah.
It's all just like I say, it's all different stories intertwining.
So what would you say it is then? So how can we maintain spirituality in a idealistic, egotistical world then?
Because I think we all know deep down that we want something more. I don't think it needs to take people like me or Russell or Tony Robbins at whatever level of success you want to find these people at to tell you that. I think we all know. I think we love Russell and we love Tony Robbins and we love these people because they bring it out of us and they inspire us to do what we kind of know we should be doing.
Yeah.
Which is living a life that feels kind of purposeful and right and like I've got some sort of connection.
Yes.
We all know it because we've all felt it. And if you haven't felt it for years, you felt it when you was a kid. But the probability is you have felt it. You know, whether it's being when we're having this phone call and the frequency and the energy is really high and we're feeling great, whether it's when I'm on stage performing, when you're presenting, there's things that make us feel alive. And it's like, strip away all the bullshit. Is that not what we should be sort of wanting to feel like when we live in this short amount of time we have?
You're so
Do
right.
we not want to feel connected and feel like we love things and feel like we care? Because it's easy to be an expert. It's easy to not give a shit. It's easy to be sarcastic. That's like the base level of operations for all of us now. It's really cringeworthy to be sincere. Don't get me wrong, it's fucking annoying when you're not in the right mood and someone's like, just be really like, you know, calm, man. You're like, shut up, mate. I don't want to hear it. It's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying we all know those things that make us feel alive. And my big belief is that we should all be trying to write out a story and live out a life which is more in line with those sorts of things than the stuff which is boring and we don't really feel attached to.
Hey, what do you think it is, right? Obviously, when I'm presenting, I'm on the red carpet, or my best moments are when I'm on stage and I'm interacting with a big crowd. I get the most unbelievable feeling, just a rush of energy. I'm at my highest point. I know for a fact you would have received the same feeling when you're on stage performing. What is that? Like, where does it all come from? And what does it mean? Does it mean that we're completely on the right path at that point in time?
I mean, on one hand, it might be because when we were kids, we weren't shown enough love and affection, and so have pursued many years down the line a career path where random strangers give you applause and adoration and give you some sort of self.
My God. Wow. You have literally opened up a can of worms. I feel like I need to see a psychiatrist. Oh, my head just exploded. Could you repeat that?
Or maybe it's a bit of that, but also through your own life and your own experience, you found this message and this belief you have deep inside you that you believe if you have the platform to share it, you could help create change in individuals, in a group,
right,
maybe society at a deeper level.
Yes.
You know, the truth is it's a bit of both. I 100% agree with you. When I'm on stage, it's the best thing. And it's partly because I'm like, hey, look, all these people love me, aren't I great? But it's also because when I'm there and everyone's singing the same note, or everybody's really listening to what I'm saying about something really intricate and deep, it's like, hey, look at all of us. It's showing me live in front of my own eyes that what I'm saying is true. Because when we're all connected and when we're all unified in the same sort of idea, it's an unbelievable experience. It's an unbelievably powerful moment, and hopefully something which can inspire others to want to chase and create something similar. Not because it's great that 5,000 people are watching you, and if you've only got 500, then you're not there yet. It's not about that. It's, can we get lost in a moment and feel totally alive? Because for me, those moments is when life's the best. And there is your perfect answer.
That's absolutely the perfect answer for sure. And I'm 100% with you on that. There's something about what we do, and man, that rush, that feeling of aliveness, yeah, I just can't explain it. I don't know where it comes from. It comes from it stays with us for a short time. When it goes, we feel a little bit low, and we're just crying out to get back that feeling once again. And that is why we're creating more content. We are doing more presenting. We're writing more songs. We're posting out more on social media. Even this podcast, talking to you now, is making me feel alive, and the feeling that I'm giving back and that I'm trying to kind of portray the message to my listeners is that you can literally get off your ass and do what you want in this life. So get doing it.
You can, and the harder and more complicated that seems, the more you've forgotten the truth in it. Because that is true. Whether you want to look at it through spirituality of, hey, you can manifest it, or through motivation and say, hey, if you really believe, you can force yourself to do it. Whatever way you want to approach it, it's just the fact that you can pretty much do what you want. Whether you do or not is a whole nother story, but you can do what you want. That's so simple and very easy to understand. So the more difficult that sounds, the further away from the actual truth you've got. But the main point I want to make there is that you're absolutely right. And where me and you get a buzz of performing, a lot of people can get that buzz through something like yoga. A lot of people can get that buzz from creating a new thing within their business, a new technology, which really helps. Maybe the local community, maybe the whole of society. There's so many different ways to achieve that feeling of feeling alive. My point is, we should dedicate our time to try and feel like that, you know, and enjoy it when it happens. Forgive ourselves when on that little bit of a low afterwards, after you've come off stage. But try and remind yourself you don't need to feel low. You're not going to feel perfect all the time. Perfection is not something we should hold ourselves to because it's impossible. We should redefine our perception of perfection and instead choose to live within the moment and appreciate it when it feels good.
Love that. Now tell me, just going off subject slightly, but not really. I know that you're, from previous discussions I've had with yourself, tell me about the law of attraction. Do you think there's a mystical power behind it?
Mate, we could debate on this for ages. I think the law of attraction is brilliant. I think the law of attraction is totally bullshit because again, it's the same thing that's in all of us, and it's another way of us trying to understand things that we don't really. I think there's a real truth behind it. I think there's a real truth behind a lot of spirituality. I also think there's a lot of bullshit and a lot of a lot of pitches to sell shit, which is learned from some
It's been convoluted for sure.
Yeah.
But saturated and convoluted with sales material behind it.
Yeah, and I hate that. And I think it's such a shame that a lot like religion, spirituality is starting to be looked at by a lot of the younger generation as this another form of bullshit, when actually it should be looked at as another form of connecting to ourselves. The thing I'd say in answer to your question is like all of it, it's how we choose to approach it. You know, there's truth in it, there's not truth in it, but we all know certain things and we all feel certain things. But we also, I think is important to say, don't know everything. We can only see between infrared and ultraviolet light. We can only hear certain decibels, but yet a dog whistle exists. So there's other stuff going on in the universe around us than what we can comprehend.
Wow.
And so as much as I'm not sitting here saying the law of attraction is absolutely true, and I'm not saying the law of attraction is absolutely bullshit, I'm saying there's a lot of things we don't understand. And I think the law of attraction, like a lot of other of these types of things, is the human way of trying to understand the unknown. If it works for you, do it. If it makes you feel happy and feel alive. You know, I went through a whole stage of really detesting the spiritual industry. After I was quite successful in it, I was like, I really kicked back and was like, this is all bullshit.
I remember.
This is all a lie. I hate this all now.
Yeah.
And you know, that was just a frustration within me. Now I'm kind of like, hey, listen, if you want to believe the law of attraction and it helps you achieve your goals and makes you feel content, believe it, man. Fucking hell, I don't care. You know, it doesn't affect me. If it makes you feel happier, just do it. Do what makes you feel good, because it's so short and there's so much shit and so much bad stuff that happens in life that if you can find a way to work for yourself to feel a bit better, fucking smash it, own it, live for it.
I'm gonna end off on this soon. I should have just finished the show right there and then. No, but look, I'm gonna go a little bit deeper before we depart, and I'm gonna have a lovely dinner, and you're gonna write another song about this whole podcast. Tell me, right, deep down, what's it all about? Why are we here?
I'm glad you asked that question. You see, every human's been umming and ahhing, and I think I've got it. No, I'm not messing with it. For me, man, it comes down to this, and I always say this, and it's always a great thing to end on. Put it like this, right? We're talking right now, and I'm choosing to say certain words. You might be able to hear from the audio. I just click my fingers, right? Like I click my fingers, I clap my hands. But just now, I chose not to. Why am I saying this? Because in every moment we experience in life, we are choosing to do one thing. But for the one thing we choose to do, there's about 6 million different things, some important, some not, which we could have done slightly differently.
Yes.
Why do I say this? Because what it means is not because of God, not because of the universe, just by simple mathematics or science at its basic form, it results in the moment you're experiencing right now is the direct result of every choice you ever made. Now, hold on, because for every choice you made, there was all those different ones you didn't. So the moment you're experiencing right now is the direct result of everything you chose to or not to do.
Okay.
Now, hold on, because for every decision you're making or not making, everybody around you, from your parents to your partners to your worst enemies, are doing the exact same thing, which means the moment you're experiencing right now is the direct result of everything that ever or never happened to everybody who ever or never lived. And so take the fucking pressure off yourself and just relax and smile a little bit, for fuck's sake.
Oh, do you know what? I think I need to meditate after this. So just finally,
It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous and so true that for me, I remind myself of that and go, hey, listen, it's so unlikely. If I can see any good in this, I'll just take it and run with it and just be grateful that I got to experience that.
No, absolutely brilliant, mate. I love it. Tell me, just finally, for the listeners, how can we, as humans, in this current negative time, or when we're out of isolation, how can we live our life through harmony and peace?
For me, I'd say what I just said. Realise how rare and how special that this moment is happening at all, that is actually happening. And try and be grateful for that. Take the pressure off yourself and forgive yourself when things don't go quite as you plan, because it's not easy. There's a lot of variables in life. And then remember that that's happening for everybody else as well. And that's very wishy-washy, but at the end of the day, it's like I'd rather be an idealistic, naive 21-year-old than somebody who goes through life seeing the negative in everything. I like to try and choose to be positive and choose to motivate and choose to do something special, because the big thing I'd end on is saying, you'll know this, like you'll definitely know this from the life you've lived, Johnny, is dreams are this crazy thing that you hold in your head. And if you're ever lucky enough to achieve one, you realise how close the rest of them are. And there's this crazy thing that happens that once you achieve one of those goals or one of those dreams, you're opened up to this whole new world of how amazing and how possible all these things you could never have thought could ever happen before are actually right there in front of you to take. But it all starts by deciding to get back up and keep trying to achieve and just get that first hurdle, jump that first hurdle, you know how to jump the rest of them.
Can I just record you for the day and just have you play in my ear all day?
Hey, maybe that's the next thing. A constant spiritual guide, just wherever you go.
Oh my God, a 24-hour Peter Abrams spiritual guide to...
There you go, I'll just sit in my bedroom talking.
It's absolutely brilliant, mate. Tell me, what's coming up for Peter Abrams when we are all out of isolation?
Same thing, trying to understand life, try and keep as happy as I can be, help a few people if possible. A better answer would be, release some new music, get the next book finished and published and stuff. And then hopefully, once we're able to, play some shows and do a tour.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm definitely going to come, mate. I'm going to come along. But
we can have Thailand Part 2.
I was going to say let's meet in Shoreditch, but I don't know where we're going to find Thailand Part 2 in Shoreditch. Well, there's places.
We're both sensible grown men now with responsibilities, so maybe we'll just stay in Shoreditch and have one beer and go home.
Yeah, no, I like it. We'll have a coffee, an Irish one, and maybe 10 beers, and we can just talk about life itself. Tell us. Now, the listeners are obviously going to want to know all about you and find you and tap you up. So where can the listeners find your work?
Again, on all social medias, Peter Abrams, or, if you want to check out the band, it's Current Affairs Music. And then, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, all of them, man. We're all plugged in now. So remember the name and you'll be able to find me if you really want to.
Wicked, brother. I'm looking forward to seeing you, giving you a big fat hug, and
I love it.
And having a few beers, man, and just catching up.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much for having me on. It's really been good fun.
It's been enlightening. I just feel like
yeah.
I feel like I need to just like do a run, just have a massive run really fast right now.
Well, this is the balance, man. I'm going to play some music and get drunk now. So.
I'll FaceTime you later.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, mate. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, mate. Speak to you soon.
Catch you soon. Bye-bye. Guys, that was another fantastic show. I hope you loved it. I hope your spiritual flex is buzzing at all cylinders right now. That was my good friend Peter Abrams. He is an absolute legend, a young man with a very, very bright future. Musician, presenter, best-selling author, mates with Russell Brand. He's on TED Talks. He's so young and he is going to be an inspiration to the world. It was fantastic to get him on the show. It was kind of cool to catch up about the old Thailand days as well. Oh, we had some memories, myself and Peter. If you want to know about those, you're going to have to give us a call. Guys, check out his book, Our Story Called Life. Download that. Get that on Amazon right about now. I guarantee that's going to blow your mind. We covered everything from the show, everything spirituality. We were talking about the ego. Yeah, so we talked about the ego, how we can control it. How do we maintain that even kill flow with the ego so it doesn't disturb our day-to-day life, keeps us in an even kill, in a nice, happy, lovable place at all times. And you've got some great meditation techniques there as well, and why meditation is so important in the daily lives of all of us here on this planet. If you love the show, look, firstly, follow, check out Peter Abrams. Get on the Peter Abrams bandwagon. He's doing some incredible things there. Secondly, if you love the show, leave a review on iTunes. We want to hear your feedback. So leave us a review, share it around, download it, subscribe it, shout about it. This is the Johny Pach Show. This is what we're all about. It's maintaining your spiritual flex. It's getting you on that right path. So guys, if you love that, shout about it. Check out the next show. We've got so many more shows lined up. It's great to have you on board. And I will see you guys very soon. Johny Pach signing out.